Good evening and welcome to Lancaster Conservancy's annual meeting. Every spring, we look forward to bringing our leadership together to share information with you about the state and health of our organization. We've been working incredibly hard over the past 12 months, and the upcoming 12 months are equally exciting. It's my sincere hope that you will walk away from this evening with a better understanding of the work we are accomplishing together and the bright future that lies ahead. Tonight's agenda includes opening remarks from our board chair, Sarah Lamachani, who will also walk us through the election of a new board member, slate of officers, and bylaw changes. We will celebrate departing board member John Pfeiffer for his significant contributions to our organization over the last 8 years. You'll get to hear from our land protection, stewardship, and education and engagement department heads. We will celebrate 2 of our most committed community partners and get to hear reflections from our CEO, Phil Wenger. Each year, we have an incredible group of annual sponsors that help underwrite our work. Tonight, we want to recognize the Wenger Group, Woodstream, Clark Associates, DART, Electron Energy Corporation, Laxwama, J Group, Eurofins, Penstone, Ritu, and PPL. Thank you to each of these businesses for your support of the Lancaster Conservancy. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce our board chair, Sarah Lamachani.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us for the Lancaster Conservancy's 2023 annual meeting. Last year, the Conservancy helped protect 1,052 new acres of natural lands, including the new Susquehanna Riverlands State Park. We planted 540 trees and removed over 3,000 gallons of invasives with the help of volunteers who shared over 2,400 hours of their time with us. We engaged our community with preserved workdays, educational opportunities for students, and events like Water Week, which is getting bigger and better every year. You can learn more about what we accomplished last year in our recently released annual report, and you can find the link to that in the chat. 2022 was an incredible year, and 2023 is already off to a great start. As you may know, earlier this month, the Conservancy announced plans to acquire over 300 acres of land known as Round Top, protecting both an important forested area along the Susquehanna River in York County, as well as the beautiful viewshed from Columbia, Marietta, and Route 30 in Lancaster County. And we're going to keep this momentum going throughout this year, as you'll hear from Conservancy staff later on. Thank you to our dedicated board of directors, our tireless volunteers, our enthusiastic staff, and our outstanding leadership for helping the Conservancy grow and care for our essential natural places. And a special thanks to you, our members and donors, who make all the work we do possible. At this point, we're going to dive into the business portion of our annual meeting, when you, our members, elect board members and approve officers. You will also be voting on a change to the Conservancy's bylaws, which would allow the organization to transition into a modern nonprofit form, giving the Conservancy's board of directors and governance committee the power to change the organization's bylaws and elect directors. First up are the board elections. These nominees would be elected for a 3-year term. Lisa Marshall has been nominated to serve a new 3-year term on the Conservancy's board of directors. Lisa currently serves as the instructional coach at Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology. Her previous roles include mathematics educator, administrator, STEM coordinator, and instructional coach in secondary education in the school districts of Philadelphia, Lancaster, and Hempfield, providing students and staff with experiential learning opportunities such as North Bay Outdoor Education in Northeast Maryland is a passion that Lisa says is a lifelong learning process. Lisa is also a member of the Lancaster Conservancy Community Impact Committee, led by Keith Williams. She's been married 22 years to Andrew Marshall. They have 3 children, Ashley, Ariana, and Isaiah Marshall. And Spike Brandt is up for re-election to a 3rd 3-year term. Spike is CEO of Nimblist and has over 30 years of experience spanning all aspects of live event production. Seeing dumpsters of scenery on TV productions like the VMAs ignited a drive to amplify environmental awareness and sustainable practices in the entertainment industry. In his own backyard, Spike supports the native pollinators and champions the Lancaster Conservancy every chance he gets. When he's not gigging, you can find him in a kayak enjoying nature with his wife, Jenny, and their kids, Ian and Sydney. Next, we present the officers of the board for election. Immediate past board chair, Sarah Lamachani. Board chair, Eric Nordstrom. Board vice chair, Julie Jones. Treasurer, Jennifer Lauver. Secretary, Alex Snyder. Community impact chair, Spike Brandt. Stewardship committee chair, Jamie Rotmund. Land protection committee chair, Chris Ginder. Finance and audit committee chair, Jennifer Lauver. We have a motion to elect these board members and slate of officers. A quick poll will appear on your screen. Please select your choice, and then we will tally the votes. I'm happy to announce that you have approved the election of these new members and officers. Thank you and congratulations. Finally, the Conservancy has proposed a change to our over 50-year-old Articles of Incorporation. This would change the rights and responsibilities of members and give the Conservancy's Board of Directors and Governance Committee the power to change the organization's bylaws and elect directors without a vote by the members, a process that has become more challenging as the organization has grown. While our donors will still be considered members of the Conservancy, the organization is proposing changing the Conservancy from a member-managed organization, thereby eliminating the need for members to ratify board votes on bylaw and governance changes. Approving these bylaw changes would provide for a change in the Articles of Incorporation that would eliminate the membership structure of the organization and streamline governance, transitioning the Conservancy into a modern nonprofit form used by most organizations today. We've included a notice of this change in our mailed newsletter and in our e-newsletter and invitations, and we hope you've had a chance to review. We've had a motion to approve these bylaw updates. Another poll will appear on your screen. Once again, please select your choice, and then we will tally the votes. I'm also happy to share that you have approved the proposed bylaw updates. Thank you. At this point, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Conservancy President Phil Wanger to acknowledge our departing board member. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I have the honor tonight of talking about my friend John F. Piper here. He joined the Conservancy the same year that they hired me in 2015, and together we have made a lot of things happen. In these 8 years, John helped us with the land deals. He pushed us to expand the organization. He strengthened the board with our recruiting. He, together with us, professionalized and upgraded our staff. He helped raise money for the organization and was very generous with his own family resources. We are so thankful for his commitment and service to the organization, and we are much stronger today because of his service to the board, including these 6 years as vice chair, 2 years, chair is 2 years, and past chair is 2 years. If you don't know John, he's passionate about scouting and inspiring youth, having served on their national board and worked with the scouting organization for many decades. He's also very capable of making things grow with the business he shares with his son, Trey, Little Brook Orchids. Now, when you take the love of the outdoors and inspiring youth and the ability to make things grow, you can determine the character of a man. And John, your imprint on this organization has been remarkable, and we will miss you on this board, but I don't expect you to be going anywhere soon. Thank you for what you've done to strengthen this organization.
Thank you, Phil, and thank you, John Pfeiffer, for your service to the Lancaster Conservancy. Next up in this evening's program are updates from our land protection, stewardship, and education and engagement departments. First up is our Senior VP of Land Protection and In-House Counsel, Kate Gonick.
Thank you, Fritz, and good evening, everyone. Well, it's been a very busy year, and it's going to be an even busier year moving forward. So building off our recent additions to the Fishing Creek and Deep Perot Nature Preserves in Lancaster County, the Conservancy is very excited to announce the expansion of our Pelham Hills Conservation Area with an additional 330 acres slated for protection. The Round Top acquisition is directly adjacent to Wizard Ranch Nature Preserve and includes 9 tracts totaling $4.5 million, including interior forests, scenic overlooks, steep slopes, riverfront, and amazing views of the Susquehanna and the landscape both north and south. And you can see it right there on the map. It's uniquely positioned. It's also just upstream from Wrightsville, and will allow us to provide an important hiking link to both Wrightsville and across the river bridge to Columbia, and then on to Marietta on the Northwest River Trail. This will also protect the viewshed from the river towns, and the Northwest River Trail, and Round Top will also provide critical wildlife and human corridors and much needed additional opportunities for recreation, hunting, fishing, bird watching, and relaxation. The Mason-Dixon Trail runs along the edge of Round Top. I think you can see the dots there, so on this map. And we're planning on providing some loop trails onto Round Top, which will expand opportunities for hikers to enjoy that trail, as well as the scenic overlooks that allow those views. When acquired, these 330 acres will be added to over 2,000 acres in this corridor that the Conservancies have protected and managed with the over 3,000 acres of publicly protected lands within Pelham Hills. This is really an exciting acquisition. We also are working in other areas along the Susquehanna, and we're protecting forests and natural lands in both York and Lancaster County in a variety of ways. In some that you might consider a different capacity. The Conservancy is working with landowners and partners at the federal, state, and local level to secure lands that will then be owned and managed by those partners and not by the Conservancy. But we provide a critical role both in locating lands, securing agreements, assisting with funding, and things of that sort. We've utilized this model in the past, as some of you may recall that the Conservancy was instrumental in protecting Chickies Rock. I believe there was a poster regarding this, and East Donegal Township Park. They were both acquired with assistance from the Conservancy. So stay tuned for more announcements on this exciting work. And now I'm very happy to turn this over to our Senior VP of Stewardship, Brandon Tennis, who takes on these projects after we've completed the acquisition, and it's his responsibility going forward in perpetuity. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, Kate. You keep us busy in stewardship. In 2022, the Conservancy formally launched its Conservation Areas Initiative in grouping together nature preserves that collectively form whole ecosystems, such as watersheds, geological ranges, interior forest, and subregions that are significant due to migration patterns. As such, the Conservancy can now better track the positive impacts of its land protection and stewardship efforts, as well as balance its initiatives in staff time, its investments in staff time, resources, as well as its habitat restoration and recreation initiatives. The first step in implementing this land management strategy was in creating the Conservancy's first ever regional preserves managers positions as individually assigned to coverage areas of the Conservancy's entire portfolio of nature preserves and conservation easements. Former full-time land stewards Travis Lyle and Sean Roberts were promoted to regional preserves managers for the Conservancy's northern region from the Pelham Hills Conservation Area in York County, Susquehanna Riverlands ecoregion, all the way east through the Furnace Hills Conservation Area to the Texture Mountain Nature Preserve in the Elanco Highlands Conservation Area on the Lancaster, Lebanon, and Berks County lines, and Central Region from the lower Manor Hills Conservation Area in the Lancaster County, Susquehanna Riverlands ecoregion, all the way east through Climbers Run Environmental Center and preserves surrounding Lancaster City to Welsh Mountain Nature Preserve as part of the Pennsylvania Highlands ecoregion. While Evan Peppers was hired directly as the third regional preserves manager, covering the Conservancy's southern region, from the York River Hills Conservation Area east across the river into the famed Lancaster River Hills Conservation Area, and then further east into the Octoraro Creek watershed. Our regional preserve managers have just celebrated the 1-year anniversary of the new position and will undoubtedly, in little more time, know the intricacies and needs of the nature preserves within their designated coverage areas better than anyone. But yet, in any given circumstance, we all pull our resources together under Steve Moore Jr., Senior Preserves Manager, and Eric Roper, Forester, for any and all hands on deck scenarios anywhere in the Conservancy's 10,000 acre portfolio of 50 nature preserves. Along with the creation of the new regional preserves managers positions, the Conservancy returned to running a seasonal stewardship crew of young adults studying or trying to get a foothold in conservation. But unlike the stew crews of past, the 2022 stew crew served as a pilot program for a green collar job training initiative, where the young conservation professionals not only built their skill sets, but also their resumes and their pay grades so that they can compete well in the job market and serve well in conservation as a viable green collar career path local to Lancaster and York counties. Last year, the stew crew completed 80% of the Tuckwin Glen and Pfeiffer Nature Preserves trail redesign, including technical rock work and real-time critical decision-making. The crew of 4, as funded by Truist through the Lancaster County Community Foundation, were led by Conservancy Land Steward Mark Roberts. And of the 4, Mark and I are happy to announce that 3 are returning to the program this summer to help finish what they began in completing the new trail system at the Conservancy's historically most popular preserve. The stew crew's experience wasn't just all trails, however. The purpose of a green collar job training program is to provide a well-rounded experience in all things stewardship of public lands management, and as such, included robust experience in habitat restoration, specifically at the Wizard Ranch Nature Preserve. Wizard Ranch Nature Preserve, as part of the Hellam Hills Conservation Area, was a focus of an 18-month intensive study and plan for the entire 1,041 acres of the Hellam Hills Conservation Area, as also including Hellam Hills Nature Preserve. For Wizard Ranch Nature Preserve, the master plan, as it was funded by the National Park Service and the Conservation Fund and produced by Simone Collins Landscape Architecture and Resource Environmental Solutions, that plan called forth a clear directive of habitat restoration for a preserve whose forests may arguably be of the worst condition and health in the Conservancy's entire portfolio of nature preserves, as easily observed by literal canopy collapse due to unchecked density and reproduction of all the most common aggressive invasive plant and insect species within our region. But fear not, for before the master plan even hit the printing presses, the Conservancy already had 30 acres of Wizard Ranch Nature Preserve in active habitat restoration through partnerships with the Conservation Fund, Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, the Horn Farm Center, and the Natural Resources Conservation Service. And quickly to follow, the Conservancy applied for and received funding through the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation to complete a stream and wetland restoration plan for the preserve. And that's not all. Just 2 weeks ago, Wizard Ranch Nature Preserve became the site of the first preserve to receive a prescribed burn in the Conservancy's 54-year history as managed by Forester Eric Roper. And most currently, under the direction of Senior Preserves Manager Steve Moore Jr. and Regional Preserves Manager Travis Lyle, the first 2 loops of a proposed 5-mile trail system are being prepared for a soft opening of the preserve slated for 6 days from now. The success of the Conservancy's first ever master plan for a conservation area has produced a template and an enthusiasm for its next conservation area master plan endeavor. But whereas the Pelham Hills Conservation Area was a relatively clean slate for planning, as 1,041 acres acquired collectively in a short 5-year time frame, the proposed master plan for the Lancaster River Hills Conservation Area is long overdue for a region consisting of the Conservancy's largest and oldest land holdings, as first acquired in 1983. The Lancaster River Hills Conservation Area Master Plan will provide a roadmap for the Conservancy, its partners and stakeholders, the municipalities in which those preserves reside, and the neighbors of our preserves to collaborate in identifying, ranking, prioritizing, and addressing the needs of these 8 preserves and 3 conservation easements, from Shanks Ferry to Holtwood, over the next 25 years as we continue to address and provide for ecosystem health, habitat restoration, public access, and outdoor recreation. So from additional skilled staff, training programs for the next generation of conservation professionals, site planning and implementation to landscape scale planning and implementation, this is how the Conservancy's stewardship program will address climate change and long-term environmental sustainability. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Keith Williams, Vice President of Engagement and Education.
Thanks, Brandon, and thank you all for being here this evening with us. I'd like to give you a quick update on a couple of key engagement programs, including community wildlife habitat advocates, school and public engagement, our volunteer programs, planned Climbers Run renovations, York programming, and Water Week. Our community wildlife habitat advocate program trains community members about the importance of native habitats and how to advocate for them. This is a program that was funded by a Clean Water Partner Grant through the Lancaster Community Foundation, and it's been immensely successful, far beyond our wildest dreams. We've had 150 folks take the introductory class. 35 are anticipated to complete the full series of 10 classes at the end of this spring, with quite a few folks on wait lists that we're working on getting through. We're going to offer additional advanced classes this summer with a second series in the fall in Lancaster City, and we anticipate this program growing in 2023. Our volunteers remain the lifeblood of this organization. They are definitely force multipliers for all of the important work that Brandon's stewardship team is getting accomplished across all 50 preserves. 557 volunteers donated 2,419 hours in 2022, which resulted in the removal of 3,215 gallons of invasive plants, 450 cubic yards of invasive shrubs were removed. They planted 540 trees and they brushed out 35 miles of trail, just as a starter for the work that was accomplished in 2022. Our outreach volunteers engaged 2,989 preserve visitors with the Leave No Trace message as they entered our busiest preserves through the warm months. In 23, we continue to grow out our volunteer program by engaging more volunteer land stewards, more outreach volunteers, more school and corporate volunteer groups in both Lancaster and York counties. Our engagement program had a great year in 2022. We conducted 57 outreach events that contacted 1,343 people. We served 1,000 students from 15 schools, and we're on track to double both of those statistics in 23. Climbers Run and the Climbers Run Barn serves as the hub for all of our volunteer, adult, and school group engagement. And as great as a teaching space as this is, it needs pretty significant renovation to fully reach its full potential. So we're planning a large-scale renovation that's going to include the construction of a wraparound deck and a viewing platform, significant interior renovation to update the barn and create more appealing teaching spaces, and really critically needed more parking. The conversion of the hay meadow to demonstration pollinator and native habitat gardens behind and around the barn is one of the things that has me the most excited. While Climbers functions as our hub for engagement in Lancaster, Wizard Ranch is going to do the same thing in York. And a focus of 2023 is establishing interpretive and volunteer programs in York on Wizard Ranch. Water Week is coming up. We've got 40 different events for this amazing 7 days of engagement and education about water and what we can do to improve it. And, you know, just the other week, we had 50 fifth grade students from School District of Lancaster at Climbers Run. They were exploring the biodiversity of the Climbers Run meadow and the stream. And one of the students declared, "I feel so alive today." And it really sums up the purpose of all of our engagement programs, whether it's adult program with volunteer land stewards or youth programming with school groups. It's about getting people of all ages outside to connect with the land and all the life that depends on it, to inspire them to do their part and support this incredibly important work. And now Fritz is going to tell us a little bit about some folks that have really stood out in assisting us.
Thank you, Kate, Brandon, and Keith. We are incredibly blessed to have you as leaders in this organization, and there is just so much work that's happening. They only scratched the surface. We really had to pare them down. It was only the highlights. And as Keith said, and now we're going to celebrate volunteers and community partners who have driven our success as a land trust for 53 years. And tonight we get to celebrate two people who exemplify conservation with an eye toward making our community a better place to call home. To present our volunteer award, we have Keith Williams. To present our government and municipal award, we have Phil Wanger. Back to you, Keith.
Yeah, thanks, Fritz. One of the great pleasures I have in my job is working with these amazing volunteer land stewards that we just talked about. We have an amazing community of conservation practitioners that are forming around this really important work in this ecoregion, both in New York and the Lancaster County sides of the river. And we have a number of folks within the volunteer land stewards that are really rising to leadership roles. We have folks that have completed advanced first aid training so that they can start running their own trips, and we have folks that are beginning to do that. But no one stands ahead of Sarah Gottwals. Sarah has become an incredible leader within the volunteer land steward. She has taken on coordinating and organizing our feeder cam program so that we never have to worry about the feeder running out of food. She is running her own introductory bird watching programs on a number of our preserves in Lancaster and York. She's an incredible ornithologist, an amazing educator, an incredible naturalist, and she's become a very dear, trusted friend of mine. So Sarah, thank you so much for everything that you do to make our world a better place in general, and specifically for furthering the incredibly important mission of protecting biodiversity in the region where the Lancaster Conservancy works. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, our next award here is our Outstanding Partner Award. And tonight we are just delighted to honor both Conoy Township and Stephen L. Moore. We often refer to him as Stephen Moore Jr., or I like to refer to him as Blue Sky Steve, which is what he always puts at the end of his emails when he communicates with me. Steve Moore has actually served on the Board of Supervisors in Conoy Township 38 years, many years as chairman. And we honor their commitment to the Susquehanna River, to conservation, to the trails and natural areas, and to the farms that they were protected that came to pass under his tenure. We have a lot of municipalities that don't always see value in our work, but Conoy Township is truly the exception. Steve Moore told me one time we were driving around that he had a dream of the future as a young man. Maybe that's why we call him Blue Sky Steve. But that dream included a rail trail along the old historic abandoned canal bed that is the Northwest River Trail. In that dream, he believed people should have access to the river. So he helped with the development in Conoy Township of multiple places where people could come, launch boats, fish, and enjoy the beauty of the river. In that dream, he saw a rural landscape with farms that needed protected and a rural life preserved, while still being able to attract businesses to support those folks. In that dream, he wanted lots of open space so residents could have their ball fields and their township parks. In fact, Conoy is famous for all of its townships and public spaces, open spaces. And most important to us, the Conservancy, in that dream, is that he wanted to protect the river buffer as a nature preserve, a forested wild banks of the river, to remain in a natural state. So he called us multiple times to do land protection projects along the Northwest River Trail. And today we have the Conoy Wetlands Nature Preserve, which also has the Foul Mouth Forest Garden in it. Because of Steve Moore and Conoy Township's partnership with us, we have this beautiful Northwest River Trail many of you use, and we have nature preserves and preserve farms and forest gardens in Conoy Township. So we are grateful, Steve, to bestow this honor on you and Conoy Township for our partnership. And we will be coming to the Township Supervisors meeting next month and present this award in person. And thank you for your partnership with us. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this evening. The Lancaster Conservancy is only as strong as our members and volunteers. You are the reason I'm here continuing to do this work alongside this committed team of professionals. We have so much to be proud of and still such a long path in front of us. The Conservancy's work has always been about protecting large forested acres. These ecological islands support our life in ways that are often hidden in plain view. They filter water, stabilize soil, store carbon, and provide habitat and food for wildlife, such as small and large mammals, insects, reptiles and amphibians, birds, and fish that wouldn't otherwise survive in our suburban landscapes. This is why land protection remains our #1 priority. Since taking the interim president role on January 1, I've been working alongside Kate Gonick and the land protection team, learning from them and seeing the fast pace we have to maintain when a new property is presented. I've toured a half dozen properties and met the owners that have committed themselves to the land and want to see us carry that spirit forward with permanent protection. It's an incredible undertaking, and we remain committed to protecting this historic landscape. We as an organization take the idea of access to our preserves for our entire community very seriously. Once a property is acquired, our stewardship team begins the process of onboarding a property that we will manage forever. An immense amount of work goes into the opening of a nature preserve, as you heard from Brandon, so that you and I can use that preserve safely. That's why you see so many trail improvements, reforestation projects, and stream corridor enhancements. It's to improve the biodiversity while armoring the preserve for extreme weather events and increased human traffic. This area of focus has grown exponentially under the leadership of Brandon Tennis and the professional team he has put together, and will continue to be a high priority for our leadership team. Which brings me to engagement. We can only grow this movement of conservation and land protection through engagement and education. Our preserves can serve as ecological islands, but we won't succeed in protecting biodiversity without the whole of the community chipping in, which is why we've hired Keith Williams and expanded his staff. Climbers Run Nature Center has become our hub for training, a place where youth and adults can gather for basic and advanced interpretive events, where we can grow our volunteer base to support our stewardship work, and where we can train future conservationists to expand the work we do beyond our nature preserves. Programs like the Community Wildlife Habitat Initiative help us expand conservation into our suburban and urban communities, ensuring long-lasting sustainable impact for generations to come. Each of us, you and I, are already part of this movement, and that's what gives me hope for the future. Finally, it's nearly impossible for me to put into words the positive impact Phil Wenger has had on the Conservancy over the past 8 years. He's helped hire much of our leadership and set a vision that has created the incredible successes you've heard here this evening. Phil's entrepreneurial spirit has encouraged us as leaders of this organization to strive and grow, develop new initiatives, and to think boldly, even when barriers were all we could see. He's transformed our organization through passionate storytelling and relationship building. Perhaps more than anything, he's mentored younger leaders like myself, sharing his vast knowledge and years of experience with an openness and vision towards the future. For that, we and I am eternally grateful. Now it's my great pleasure to hand it back to our CEO, Phil Wenger, to close out the evening.
Thank you, Fritz. This is an inflection point for me and for the Conservancy after 8 years of service. And I just want to start by thanking everybody for the opportunity, you our members and you our supporters, for this opportunity to serve, to experience a second career, to be able to leave a mark on this planet. 2022, though, the year we just wrapped up, was another year where the words that I used in our leadership team, growth and momentum, just came to reality. You know, we protected over 1,000 acres, a record-breaking year. We expanded our stewardship budget and added staff, as you heard from Brandon. We built a new and rich, deep educational program to expand our community support. We hired new talent behind the scenes in marketing and GIS, and we received more grant funding as an organization from our public supporters than ever before. This organization is the right place at the right time, moving forward with a tremendous amount of energy. There is one backstory, though, that I wanted to share with you, just to help you understand the risk and the rewards that we take as an organization. When 1,050 acres in Pelham Township, right where the Cadorus Creek dumps into the river at the Shocks Mill Bridge, 1,050 acres were up for sale and were going to be developed or broken and parcellated out into a number of property owners. We stepped in at great risk with an $11 million sales agreement with no money in our pockets, essentially. But the knowledge and the willingness to know that we could raise money in this community, in York County and in Lancaster County. But what ended up happening was nothing less than amazing. There's some political intrigue behind the scenes, but organizations like the Conservancy, who build a strong reputation, who work closely with leaders from both sides of the aisle in our political divide, who really have the wind in their sails from the young environmentalists and the older hunters and conservationists, were able to put our name and organization on the map enough to attract $11 million from the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources of surplus oil and shale gas money. And instead of having to raise this money, we ended up having the state come in and on this protected 1,050 acres that we bought, take it off our hands and develop it into an amazing new Susquehanna Riverland State Park. That couldn't have happened without the talent and energy and momentum and growth that this organization has. And I'm just so proud of what we did as an organization to make this happen. And I want to take credit for that state park, because without us, it would have never happened. And that land would have been lost forever. So looking forward, though, I want to share a few thoughts about the future. This is the last year that I'll be playing this role at the annual meeting. As you're aware, I'm stepping down as the CEO and president at the end of June, and Fritz Shorter's been hired by the board as our new president and CEO. I'd like to reflect on that for just a couple of minutes, if you stay with me here. The Conservancy, since 2015, when I was hired, have increased our budgets every year with positive surpluses. We've added staff. We've doubled the amount of land protected in 8 years, what it took us 45 years beforehand to do. Our board is now strategic. Our staff is professional. And the community has stepped up to support us like we never could have imagined only 8 short years ago. And folks like to lay that credit on my shoulders, but I will tell you that credit goes to Fritz. It goes to Brandon, it goes to Kate, because they are the ones who have assembled the team and aligned this organization with our priorities. And they take the credit because I just was an enabler who went out and helped to sell this organization to the community. So now I hear some of our donors and others worry about the change in leadership and what it might mean for the organization. But I'm here to say, don't worry. Because Fritz is a very strong leader. He's not entrepreneurial as I was, but he is thoughtful, he's innovative, he's collaborative, and he has his fingers on the pulse of this community. He understands conservation better than I do. He's respected by all of our partners, and he's proven incredibly effective of raising funds and building teams. My friends, the organization is in good hands, and I just want you to know that. I'm also, though, stepping aside for a philosophical reason, and Fritz mentioned it in his comments, but I believe young leaders need opportunities to grow. They shouldn't have to leave this community because a nonprofit leader stays on too long. We have some community-based organizations who have nonprofit leaders in their place for decades. And I will tell you, young leaders come to those organizations and they move forward. But by stepping aside, it gives this organization opportunity to grow even more as young leaders step into the vacuum and share that vision for the future and create a healthier organization. I do want to assure everybody listening today that my passion for protecting land along the Susquehanna River and in Lancaster County hasn't waned. And the Conservancy has by far the most important mission in the community. We have dozens and dozens, actually hundreds of organizations that protect and support human beings and our conditions in society as nonprofits. But we only have a couple that protect the landscape. And the Conservancy is the best that we have in this organization. And so I am convinced that humans must change our behaviors. We must use our knowledge to help the world heal and protect the biodiversity, the air and the water that we have so damaged, and to really, really look into the future and act responsibly. So I'm going to stick around. I'm going to support our work by working on special projects, and I'll remain a consultant, helping raise endowment to strengthen the financial condition of the Conservancy either further. So in conclusion, I just want to assure everybody that the way I look at it, the future is very bright. We have new leadership. We have new passion. We have the most compelling mission in the community that is so exciting to support, especially when the organization achieves the kind of results, creating the legacy for future generations that we want. So a huge thank you to all of our listeners today, to the staff, to the board, to our volunteers, and to everybody who takes their choice and their talents and makes this happen, where we serve that complex web of life that needs our support. So with that said, my deepest thank you for being on this journey with us and for being a part of the Lancaster Conservancy. Thank you and have an absolutely wonderful evening.